What is it like to be a corruption whistleblower and then head a criminal organization yourself? What charges does one of Antonov's top officials face? What is the longest prison term in NABU and SAPO's cases? And who was extradited to Ukraine in March? Hello, I am Svetlana Alifira, NABU's spokesperson, and you're watching our March News Digest. Here we go! NABU and SAPO exposed a criminal organization led by the ex-head of the State Property Fund of Ukraine, hiding behind the image of a corruption whistleblower, but in reality removing competitors. He secured the appointment of loyal persons as directors of Odessa port plant and United Mining and Chemical Company. They in turn sold products of these enterprises for cheap to predetermined companies, which resold them at market prices. The losses to both enterprises exceed $500 million. The investigation is ongoing. What is a quick and easy way to get a land in Kiev for the construction of a residential complex? A Ukrainian MP knows the answer. He decided that the state-owned enterprise Держбудкомбінат no longer needed the parcel where its facilities were located. He colluded with the director of this enterprise to secure the victory of a controlled company in the auction for the conclusion of a construction investment contract. In the concluded contract, the cost of the right to use the plot and all the facilities was reduced from 525 million hryvnias to 300 million hryvnias. Thanks to NABU and SAPO, the court seized the land and the participants of the scheme became suspects. One of the directors of Antonov state enterprise decided to embezzle 18 million hryvnias. The plan was to overpay this very amount to a law firm that provided legal services to the enterprise. However, the detectives learned about such generosity, secured the seizure of the funds, and served charges on the director and the law firm's head. A judge of one of the Odessa district courts was caught on a $4,000 bribe. For this amount, she promised a positive decision in a civil case. Alas, things did not work out as planned. The judge was exposed red-handed upon accepting the money. Another judge, this time from Kiev, is suspected of illegally lifting the seizure of more than 110,000 euros and $9,000. She did it in the interest of a person who had nothing to do with the money. The judge had no right to consider the issue and took her decision in the absence of prosecutor. To her regret, everything came to light thanks to NABU and SAPO. I hope you remember the case of funds embezzlement during the construction of a kindergarten in the Kiev region. The one in which the chairman of the village council, the accountant, and the directors of two companies falsified reports of completed works and overestimated the cost of materials. In the end, 27 million hryvnias was embezzled, and the kindergarten for 280 kids remained on paper. In March, the investigation was completed and the case will go to court quite soon. The ex-board chair of the State Food and Grain Corporation of Ukraine is suspected of causing over $60 million in losses to the enterprise. To escape justice, he decided to hide in Vilnius. However, in March, despite all his efforts to avoid returning to Ukraine, he was extradited to face trial and a fair verdict. The ex-head of the State Border Guard Service of Ukraine and two other persons got on the dock. Because of their actions, the apartments built in the center of Lviv for the families of border guards were sold to someone else. The border guards got other flats instead, in the suburbs and much cheaper. Such a replacement scheme was sanctioned by the ex-head of the State Border Guard Service, who received a bribe in the form of a discount on a parking lot in Kyiv. The first episode of the Rotterdam Plus case was also sent to court. It involves 19 billion losses caused to Ukrainians in 2016-2017 after the introduction of the Rotterdam Plus formula for calculating the price of electricity. The case was on the verge of being closed as many as 4 times. However, NABU did not give up. With the appearance of the new SAPO head, the investigation was completed. Now it is for the court to decide. The head and the deputy of one of the city councils in the Odessa region will also face trial. They requested $100,000 for assistance in allocating 2.5 hectares of communal land for lease. In January, NABU and SAPO exposed them red-handed during the receipt of the first tranche of $50,000. In March, detectives completed the investigation and sent the case to court. A judge from Dnipro got 10 years in prison with confiscation of property. She was convicted of receiving $16,000 in bribe and inciting medical workers to issue fake sick leave certificates. The ex-Boryspil Airport CEO and his subordinate received 5 and 4 years behind bars, respectively. The court found them guilty of leasing the airport premises to private enterprises beyond tender and at a reduced price, which caused the state enterprise to lose 16.5 million hryvnias. The former director of the state enterprise, Lutsk Bakery Combine No. 2, and the head of an elevator who stole 26,000 tons of grain worth more than 56 million hryvnias were sentenced to 10 and 7.5 years in prison, respectively. A former Ministry of Defense official got 4.5 years in prison. He was found guilty of offering to transfer 24 million hryvnias in bribes to influence the results of the ministry's audit. The judges of a district court in the Kyiv region and the district court of Dnipro were imprisoned for 8.5 years and 11 years with confiscation of property. Both were found guilty of accepting bribes for passing necessary court decisions. By the way, the judge from Dnipro got the longest prison term in NABU and SAPO cases as of now. A representative of one of Kyiv's developers will transfer $100,000 for the Army of Drones project. The court found him guilty of trying to bribe the head of the State Inspectorate for Architecture and Urban Planning with $120,000. The court also ruled to collect 2 million hryvnia bail for the army needs. The whole amount of the bribe will be turned into state revenue. This was the March top news from NABU. Check our website for more exposures, investigations and cases in court. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos. Stand with Ukraine!